Hi, everyone. This is Shannon Port, and welcome to our Friday live stream. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to ask you to let me know if you can hear me, because I had a few interruptions today getting started, and so finally streaming. All right, can you hear me? All right. I just want to make sure I didn't get a chance to test the sound and to test the microphone. So just let me know if you can, if someone can let me know if you can hear me. Good. Okay, good. All right. All right. Wonderful. All right. So welcome to the live stream. This is Friday, July 20th. And today the topic for our live stream is we are going to be talking about the total lunar eclipse in Aquarius happening on July 27th. The theme for this podcast today is goddess technology. Goddess technology. And I'm being called to use my goddess technology right now, because when technology fails on the outer, we have to rely on the technology that we have on the inner. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Aquarius rules technology. Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, rules technology. It also rules astrology. And so I look forward to talking a little bit about our technology, but really especially about the technology of the goddess. And recently, in this past year, I've written a couple different newsletters. I do a newsletter called the Akashic Insight newsletter, where we look into the Akashic for what's happening on the planet. And one of them I did, I think, a couple months ago, called Inner Spiritual Technology. And that's also very much about what we're going to talk about today. So I will link that. It's not linked right now, but I'll link that after this. So today we're going to talk about the planetary alignments. We're also going to look at archetypes, because I work with archetypes on this channel. I work with the archetypes of the divine archetypes of the major arcana, and I work with many of the archetypes that show up in our mythology and our allegory on this planet. And so I like to look at what's happening in the sky and break it down and see if we can uncover the conversation that's happening and the reflection of our psyche onto the consciousness screen of creation, which is what our reality is, and then the mirror back of that consciousness screen onto our psyche. So it's a reciprocal relationship. And so, it's so nice to be here. Let me see who's here. Oh, I'm glad you could join me. The Facebook would not let me post a link to this live stream. And so it looks like there's some people here. I tried multiple times, and my paid Art of the Feminine Facebook page would not let me post a link. I posted last minute on my personal page, but I thought that was kind of interesting. It wouldn't receive it. So, all right, where do we want to start? We're going to start with the lunar eclipse. This lunar eclipse, many people are saying, and I don't have all the details, but that it is the most powerful eclipse of this century because of the length, that it's a long one. It lasts for, I think, about 2 hours. Don't have the exact details on that. Maybe I'll come back and post them after the video, but I've heard from many respected people that this is very, very potent lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse. It's happening in Aquarius. We are at the last of the eclipses in Aquarius and Leo, which is quite significant because we're getting ready to move. The north nodes are moving into Cancer and Capricorn. Capricorn is going to be so loaded with retrograde energy come as we get close to the solar eclipse that's happening in Leo. Mars will be at 0 degrees Aquarius, getting ready to enter back into Capricorn, where it will be with Pluto and Saturn. All three of these power players will be retrograde. And so we're moving into this focus as the nodes move into Capricorn and Cancer. That's really, really causing us to look at this sign and to integrate the wisdom that needs to be integrated. there will be a lot of reform happening. And in fact, well, I think we'll jump right into the planets. So the eclipse is when the moon comes into the shadow of the earth. So it's really the moon brushes. The moon already represents the high priestess and the subconscious energy, the lunar aspect of our mind. So it comes into the shadow of earth, and so it really brushes into the underbelly and the subconscious mind of earth at the time of this lunar eclipse. So the feminine, as in the hidden feminine, is really highlighted and revealed. We know full moons bring things to culmination, and so it's a time of really seeing what might have been hidden before. It comes to light, and the moon is full and bright. But at this time, we're going to have a dark moon when it goes dark during the eclipse. And so it's kind of like a rewrite of our destiny. I think that's one way to put it, that it's like a rewrite. Hi, it's like a rewrite of our destiny. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that we're using and some of this goddess technology that we want to access. And so at the time, it's a south node eclipse. Mars will be conjunct the eclipse at 4 degrees Aquarius, just right there. I think the eclipse is the moon and the sun are at 5 degrees of Aquarius and Leo, the moon at 5 degrees Leo or Aquarius, right conjunct a retrograde Mars. I did a long video about Mars retrograde, and that I talked a lot about the power of the Shakti force and the fire energy of Mars when it goes inward, and how it has the power to activate our Kundalini. Mars in the archetypes is the tower. The tower represents really the divine spirit or holy fire Shakti of the Divine Mother. It's fire energy, and it can always, as all of these archetypes can be, it can always be used for its life generating, life movement force, or for its contracting, life negating force. And so the Kundalini Shakti is no different. And so it's a power. All power can be used for good, or it can be used for the opposite of good, whatever that may be at that time. Things are kind of subjective sometimes, but there is a force for good. I like to think of the force of for good as moving towards life, towards sovereignty, and towards expression. And the anti-life force is more about moving into a contracted, repressed, suppressed, sometimes manipulated, exploited state that's less than sovereign. And so at the time of the eclipse, Mars will be conjunct the moon. The moon is the high priestess. The moon conjunct the south node. The moon represents the deep, deep power of the lunar, of the feminine, and the subconscious mind. It's where things get alchemized, things get really, really are really potent and powerful in the unseen world. If you think about the way a child grows in its mother's womb, it begins to catch momentum and catch the elements in the dark womb. That's represented by the high priestess, that she's the womb and even the Akashic ocean of creation that we live in. So in a sense, she's the whole of creation. We live in one big womb, and within the womb we have the light and the dark. So here we have the high priestess in the moon conjunct the Shakti force, Mars, the fire energy. So we have Mars fire conjunct water, the moon, the lunar. This is a really auspicious combination when we combine these masculine, feminine, emissive, receptive energies of fire and water together. It's highly, highly sets the stage for profound sacred union and profound um, shifting and change to happen. When we have these two forces speaking to each other and working together, great change can take place. Both of these, all of these, the nodes, are the Mars and the moon are both being squared by Uranus in Taurus. Uranus in Taurus is squaring the south node and the north node in Leo. So we have the sun in Leo opposite the moon in Mars, conjunct the north node. So here we have Uranus, who rules, the ruler of Aquarius, um, that also rules technology. And we're going to talk about the archetype of Aquarius because Aquarius is so connected to Venus um and this is moving from some of the exoteric teachings into the esoteric. The archetype of Aquarius being the star, and the star is represented by the eight-pointed star of Venus. And it's also, when we look at that archetype, we see the seven chakras, but with the eighth chakra, and that it can all be summed up in the archetype or in the symbolism of the eight-pointed star, which can be made with the two squares, one placed over the other. That's an archetype for Venus. It has a lot of symbolism built into that archetype, but this is the archetype of Aquarius. And so Aquarius, even though we think of it as being all of the correspondences that we know and love about Aquarius, being about the people, about brotherhood, about sisterhood, about the whole, about vision, about technology, about uniqueness, about the plight of the individual and our sovereignty. It's also very linked to this archetype, the star, which is the Hebrew letter Zadi. The Hebrew letter Zadi means hook, and it's like the fish hook. And it means, one of the meanings for it is that through meditation, we go in to the depths of the lunar, the depths of the subconscious mind, and we retrieve with that fish hook, with that potency, the solar seeds. So this is getting in there pretty deep, but that is what Aquarius means. We're entering the age of Aquarius, which is the age of the heart. The heart is necessary to vision. We are actually, when we vision things and when we dream through our heart. And it's necessary to activate the heart in order to activate those solar seeds. And so we're going to see how this all connects. So we have Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius in Taurus, the earth. We talked about this a couple of videos back, but Uranus is touching ground on planet Earth. Uranus is in the sign ruled by Venus. So now we're seeing these correspondences. Uranus in Taurus, Aquarius, the sign ruled by Uranus, also the star, which is truly connected to, and if anyway, it's one of my favorite archetypes. When I share this video, I'm going to post the archetype, the star, because it's so beautiful. Many people have that as one of their favorite archetypes. It's so beautiful, and it's closely related to Venus. And so we're moving into this age of Aquarius, which is really kind of like the Venusian age as well. It's the age of the heart. I talk about this a lot. The age of love, the age of divine love. Sometimes we say the divine feminine because the divine feminine represents that side of all of us. I often refer to this platform. We work with alchemy, we work with metaphysics, we work with the mysteries, we work with tantra, we work with the yogic teachings, we work with the Western esoteric system, we work with all of it. And sometimes I call it divine feminine astrology. And somebody commented on that and asked me why. In the feminine is the creative expression of the absolute. And so all of us are in feminine embodiment just by the fact that we have a body. We are in we have a dense reality along with our inner plane reality, which is much less dense. Lila in the yogic teachings is the divine dance. It's the divine play of creation. There's many feminine archetypes that are about the cosmos, that are about the movement of the stars and the planets, because those are really the archetypes of our mind being projected onto this screen and dancing around. So that's why sometimes we call it the divine feminine. So we have this T-square happening. We have, at the time of this lunar eclipse, this energy in Aquarius in a T-square with the Uranus in Taurus, newly in Taurus, and the Sun in Leo. So we're also going to talk about Leo. Forming a T-square, um, we have a lot of planets that are in these fixed signs that are being activated. We have planets in Aquarius, in Scorpio, in Leo, and in Taurus. And so these are planets that are grounding energy in. And I really feel, and there's a lot of retrograde planets. And in fact, Mercury will just be going retrograde at the time of this lunar eclipse. I really feel like, um, I really feel like this is a monumental step into the Aquarian age, because it's going to be a while before we have eclipses in Aquarius again. So we're going to talk about, really go into the archetype of Aquarius and what Aquarius means. But first, I want to go through some of the planets a little bit more. Saturn retrograde in Capricorn, Pluto retrograde. Mostly the big action is this T-square. So I'm going to focus mostly on that. Um, Mars retrograde. Mars retrograde is close to the Earth. It's strong. Mars retrograde gives kind of a heavy, dense, slow feeling where it's like Mars can really get under your skin. It can go deep. And because it's coupled here with the moon in the south node, it's almost like it's going deep into the subconscious underbelly of humanity as the moon passes through the shadow, and bringing some of that mother fire energy into it and saying, Mars, in fact, Mars, when in Aquarius, is a reformer. So we're going to see some reform happening. Um, because of the energies of this eclipse, which are active not only at the time of the eclipse, but for the next week, the next 6 months, and even the next year. We're going to see some reform happening. So let's talk a little bit now about this archetype Aquarius, and um, how we can embody Aquarian energy. And I have two great quotes I'm going to read as we get closer to the end of this video. One is really about the age of Aquarius. It's a famous quote by Yogi Bhajan, and I can't wait to go into that because it's perfect for this lunar eclipse. So Mars is a reformer when it's in Aquarius, and the moon, which represents the home and nurturing and family and children. When the moon is in Aquarius, it's a little bit more attached and intellectual and looking at the big picture, looking at the vision of humanity. So we have Mars reforming, and the moon, this feminine mother energy, taking a step back and seeing the big picture on Earth from the archetype of Aquarius, seeing what we need at this time, what will launch us into this Aquarian age. So Aquarius represents freedom. It represents equality, tons of social justice happening right now, both the shadow side and the light side. And by the way, this eclipse is going to also highlight the shadows of Aquarius. So we have everything happening around these topics. We have equality, social justice, uniqueness. We have creativity and idealism, self-expression, and here, Mars is very strong and willful, and it really, really can push through anything that gets in its way, because it's being willful for the whole of humanity. Um, let's just talk a second about yes. So one of the themes also with this goddess technology is a home for everyone, food for everyone, nurturing for everyone. This is some of the underbelly that we're going through, and we're going to look at how social justice issues, humanitarianism, we're going to look at how this T-square from Uranus is going to kick us into really, really needing to look at these things, because we're in an ascension cycle, and because we're expecting, and we're already seeing, as a lot of you know who follow this platform, huge changes on Earth all of us are experiencing them. I want to talk a little bit about the individual experiences that we've already talked a lot about fatigue. In fact, some of this fatigue is kind of like going through quicksand. It's like we can have go really, really slow, and then all of a sudden have bursts of energy. This is very much aligned with the Uranus archetype. Uranus is a very slow moving planet, but it has blasts of brilliance, creative genius, and even revolution. So here we have Uranus T-squaring the nodes and the sun and the moon at this eclipse. So Uranus is the planet of freedom, a revolution, and revolutionary vision. So we're going to talk a lot about visioning. So we're going back to that heart energy. The heart is the dreamer. Aquarius is associated with the heart by the archetype the star and its correspondence with Venus. This is about dreaming and envisioning our new future. It's also about creating it. Leo and Aquarius are opposites on the wheel, and Leo represents unique individual expression as well. It represents being at the center of the wheel, being the sun in the solar system, having everything rotate around us, being really creatively expressed, and being connected to our heart is Leo energy, and the sun is in Leo. Leo is where the North Node is, and this age of Aquarius is really about all of us being self-expressed. The reason for that is because when we use our heart, when we tap into our heart, when we feel, when we create, we are so much less likely to tear other people apart. When we ourselves are creatively fulfilled and expressed, and we're busy about our creative business, we have far less time to get involved in things that don't hold truth. And Aquarius is so much about truth. And we'll jump into why that is so. But when we embody our truth, which is going to involve both Leo energy and Aquarius energy. And that is what we're integrating through the last of these eclipses there as we get ready to move the nodes into Capricorn and Cancer. It's really important that we do this integration because we're going to need it. We're going to need our creativity. We're going to need our heart. We're going to need to be ready to act in our communities. We're going to need to be have a vision of the whole, not just the little piece, but we're going to have to be able to understand the whole as well for brotherhood and sisterhood on this planet. But when we live in kind of a culture of take everything that somebody offers us and then criticize. I call it the take and criticize. It's easy to take everything someone has to offer, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's with a teacher, whether it's in a spiritual teaching. It's easy to study something with somebody, or to receive everything somebody's offering us. Let's say even if it's free on there's so much information out there now. We have the ability to receive great wisdom without even leaving our homes. We can tune into the work of many people who have done a lot of work to bring certain things forward. But in our culture, because everything comes so fast, there's a tendency to kind of soak it up, take everything someone has to offer, and then criticize and walk away. I see that a lot. That's something that is out of integrity and out of alignment with the age of Aquarius. In Aquarius, we have to be grateful. We have to appreciate what our brothers and sisters offer, what they bring to the table, what we exchange. Sometimes we receive a lot from somebody, and at that time, we don't have a lot to give. The universe balances out everything. So there's always in the Akashic record, a record of what dance we do with anyone that's recorded. This could be called karma in some teachings, but it's really the state of equilibrium that keeps the universe harmonizing. And so when we I'm gonna take a moment to look at the comments in just a moment. I have to turn them on my big screen, but when we're really grateful and when we really honor people, it doesn't mean sometimes we have to go into something very deeply before we see that maybe there's a shadow there that we don't care for, and that's okay. That happens a lot as well. However, the way I'm shown it, if somebody gives you a gem of wisdom, even if it's one thing and you really receive that and it changes your life, there is a certain love and gratitude that we always hold for that exchange, even if we decide that perhaps this spiritual teacher or this school of wisdom or this thought, ultimately we won't stay there forever. But it's really important that we keep our grace with being respectful. Um, all right, I'm just going to open this up. I'm going to open up my bigger screen and see. That's great. I see you guys are all talking amongst yourselves, and that's great. If you happen to have a question now that you want to throw out there, if you write it in all caps, I can look down and sort of pick it out, meaning all capital letters. So I'll look down again in just a moment. Um, but gratitude is one of the technologies of the goddess. It's so simple, but to be grateful and to realize that we are all carrying seeds of wisdom and exchanging with each other, being more aware of what we exchange and how we exchange is going to become very, very, very important and powerful. Always being grateful and always wishing each other the best, even if somebody does us wrong, even if somebody is kind of going off into shadowland. Now, if obviously there's the obvious, if something is completely dark and um being hurtful deliberately, we need to call it out. We need to step up to it. We need to be bold. We need to have courage. We need to use the power of our voice. Absolutely. But I'm not talking about these situations. We've talked already a lot about that. I'm talking about just honoring every person that has come into our life and everyone that has shared wisdom with us. I know in my life, throughout my lifetime, I've met many, many people who I received wisdom from. And I've read many, many books of people who were on the same path as I'm on and received loads and loads of gifts from teachers and artists and masters who came before me. And there isn't a time I walk by my bookshelf where I don't bow and just say thank you to all those people who because in some level we lay down our lives to birth whatever it is we birth. I know in my work I do much more than I reveal. That for every time I show up and I get to speak, it's a treat for me, but I also know what I had to alchemize and transmute, and even just the challenges in 3D that it took to get to this place and to speak it. And so, therefore, I know because of what I do that it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of tears and a lot of pain and a lot of learning and a lot of growing that we go through in order to bring through the messages that we have. And so that's why at this time it's very important for all of us to access our creative power. People who are creatively fulfilled have that understanding. When I get oh, very nice. When I get trolls, when I've recently had some really, really bad ones, but when I get trolls, I'm touched by it because I feel and that those are people who are just aggressively out to try to bring you down as hard as they can without any integrity or alignment. I always feel I feel gratitude for that as well because first of all, I know that anybody who's in that category of doing that is not getting to bring their gift into the world. Most of the time, anyone that would go into that situation to be that way has is not creatively expressed or fulfilled and so they're angry when they see other people doing what they love. And it's very easy to criticize those people and say, oh, you got this wrong, you got that wrong. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And we've all done that before. Usually, when we find ourselves becoming the critic, it's because there's something there that we wish we had, whether it's something somebody's doing, or it's a sign that we need to put our voice in the world and know that there's room for everybody. And so part of this culture we have of slamming people, trolling people, misusing the power of the word in ways that are so awful. And I talked about this in Word Alchemy several videos back. When we misuse the power of the word, we turn our Shakti force on us. Anytime that we use the power of the logos to hurt, to hate, to condemn, and to bring down other people, it doesn't even matter if it's the shadow forces. There's a time to speak our truth, but to speak it with full power and not cowardly. When we speak in certain ways, we're being cowardly and we're misusing the greatest power that we have as human beings, the power to shift. Um, Oh, I have so many more things I want to bring in. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock, not much more time left. The heart is the technology of the goddess, the creative imagination, the technology of the goddess, serving other people, the technology of the goddess. These are, when we serve, we embody truth. Now, what is truth? I'm going to take a quick look at this before it goes away. I just saw all caps. Oh, okay. Feeling like I have to make a decision. Should I take a leap of faith? Okay. So, excuse the interruption. I do this. I looked down, I saw this question. Should I take a leap of faith with the decision? Taking leaps is part of being human. There's always going to be a lot of times people, when I'm mentoring with people, I work with this. Sometimes people feel so stuck and so contracted and so much like the dark forces are targeting them, keeping them down, holding them back. We have to have movement. We have to have stillness, gather our intelligent decision and wisdom and information, and then we have to act. We don't get feedback from the world until we act. Acting, and this is part of even doing the work that I do. I act, and sometimes I make mistakes, or sometimes I say things and I realize I want to adjust them a little bit. And there's moments where I think, "Oh, I wish I could go back and redo that," but that's not how it works. We have to go forward with what we have at any given time and trust and have faith. The archetype of Uranus represents the fool. The fool does represent jumping off the cliff and having faith that we are divine and that we are supported by life. Life supports us when we support others and when we support ourselves. That being said, call upon wisdom. Call upon your highest wisdom and just ask. And when you get the answer, go for it and know that if you need to adjust, you'll come back and you'll adjust and you'll do better next time. Failure or making mistakes is just a sign that you are in the world and moving and creating. I think this director's name was Harold Clurman. I remember back when I was acting, there was this video. I think his name is Harold Clurman, a video I used to watch all the time. And he talked about, judge me not by my successes, judge me by my failures. My failures are my greatest accomplishment because it's my failures that gave me the wisdom and the new source and material to go forward and create my masterpieces. Brilliant. Love it. Okay. So Uranus. All right. So um yeah, Uranus is also exalted in Scorpio. Right now we have Scorpio lit up with Jupiter there. And so that shows us that Uranus has power in the underworld. Huge correspondence here. Don't have time to go into it, but Uranus in the underworld, it works its power. And that is the archetype of Zadi, the fish hook that goes in and retrieves the solar force. We talked all about Scorpio. I just did a video on Jupiter retrograde talking about the power of Jupiter in Scorpio, but that's what it is. Scorpio in that number 13, it's the divine feminine because it's about retrieving the solar nucleus, the solar seeds in the dark underworld. That's what this eclipse has the power for us to do. All right, I'm going to jump ahead to a couple things. I want to get to these quotes. This is what I want to say. In the age of Aquarius, we need to serve because of the earth changes that are coming. Okay, one more question. The journey opens up to more wisdom to help others as they feel it opening, but it is not nearly fully here, and I sense that too. Okay, I'm not sure if you mean the wisdom is not fully here yet. As I feel it opening, but it is not nearly fully here, and I sense that too. Sometimes we have to sometimes I do say to just pause and know that there's no hurry. So that being said, there's no hurry to act. You will need to act. You will need to pull the trigger at some point, but there's no hurry. If you're feeling pressure, take a step back. Take a moment. In fact, go the opposite way. Take that breath, but when you get the impulse to act, do it and do it boldly and do it with courage. So we are going to have to act. This is what I wanted to say with so many things changing on Earth, and possibly, I mean, we with the solar energy that's coming in, and with the possibility of us losing our satellites and losing our technology. Well, there you have it. If we have a big solar event, which I feel strongly is here and increasing, and our satellites go out and we don't have technology, we will be forced to use the inner technology. We will have to. In cultures and in countries where there was no technology, or where there was a great deal of repression on the outer, people always, I was just talking about this with one of my girlfriends from Russia, and how why there's so much spirituality there. I've met so many teachers and adepts from that part of the world that lived through the times when there wasn't much available on the outer, so they went into the inner and accessed it. When these things happen and shut down, we will need to use our inner technology. We'll need to use our love, our intuition, our wisdom. But most of all, we are going to need to connect to community. We're going to be forced back into our local communities. Right now, we have social media platforms. We can curate our image. We can put into the world our platform, our identity, and make it the way we want it to be for people who can never get to see us in person. And we get to create that vision, which is lovely. But in these times, we're also going to be asked to be seen in our raw format, in our raw truth, with people in our own communities. In the deep, deep Western mystery tradition, there's a saying that wherever you are is where you need to be, and your opportunities to serve are right there. You just need to see them. This is Aquarius. There's a Rumi quote. This is one of the quotes I wanted to say. Wherever you stand, be the soul of that place. Wherever you stand, this is Rumi, be the soul of that place. We're going to have the opportunity to do that. That means that you take your greatest wisdom to the grocery store, to your neighbors, to your children's sporting events, wherever it is you go, to your spiritual communities. Our communities around us are even more important than what we think is out there, because we're in that geographical location. It doesn't mean many things are going to shift, and obviously it's important to see the world too, but wherever you are, that's where you can work miracles. All right, that being said, we have the 5 sutras for the Aquarian age. I thought I would finish with those, and I think I will do that. Truth. I want to take just a minute to talk about truth. Truth is when we know who we are, when we are honest, when we speak the truth, when we value other people, everybody equally. Again, because I always get the person saying, but that doesn't mean this or that. Of course, we discern. And of course, when there's a need to, we speak out. But most of the time, these situations involve us criticizing or belittling or looking down on people that have done nothing wrong. They're just people. And so it's going to be about seeing people all as the embodiment of the Christic force. Those solar seeds are within all of us. In Aquarius, we mirror. We mirror with who's in front of us, and the moon is showing us that. We're going to mirror anyone that you're mirroring with that's in your, we call it the auric field in the metaphysical wisdom. Whoever comes into your aura, that's who's there at that time. That's who we're mirroring with. Okay, I'm going to finish with these 5 sutras. These are from Yogi Bhajan, who famously brought Kundalini yoga back in the 60s to the United States with the Sikh teachings and a lot of wisdom. And he was one of those teachers that was one of the teachers of the 60s that brought in huge amounts of wisdom. All kinds of people love him. All kinds of people put down these things and say they're channeling this or that, all kinds of things, as to be expected whenever you're on a public platform. But this is what I'm talking about as well. Listen to this. This is the 5 sutras for the Aquarian age. This will access your goddess technology. Recognize that the other person is you. So, Aquarius, recognize that the other person is you. Think twice before you rip someone apart or tear apart their business or tear apart who they are. Think twice. Do you want that energy coming to you? Probably not. Now, we don't only see the other person as us just to avoid pain and experience pleasure. In fact, once we are in the embodiment of the Aquarian energy, we go so much deeper than that. And that's when we embody truth. We serve simply because serving is an act of our God consciousness. 2, when the time is on you, start and the pressure will be off. This is going back to your comment. Rumi, yes, this is going back to that comment of how do I know when to act, or I'm feeling this come in. When the time is on you, start and the pressure will be off. It's exactly what we were talking about there. When you're feeling that pressure, you need to act. Act and notice so many times when I'm working with clients and they're stuck, they're just not moving. There is a time to sit still, but when we go into that place where we're being handicapped by our stillness, we need to act in the world. This is the age of Aquarius. It's the time to act. 3, vibrate the cosmos, and the cosmos shall clear the path. This is Leela. This is the divine feminine. This is that vibration, movement, the heart, the breath, the heart, the breath. Our heart beats, our breath pulses, movement. Vibrate, and you can vibrate with the word. I've worked years and years and years with chanting and with working with mantra, very powerful, but there's other ways to vibrate as well. We'll talk more about them in another video. There is a way out through every block. There is a way out. There is a way through. I don't want to say out. He says through. There is a way through every block. That means sometimes walking through the alchemical fire. Power. And I've lived by these for a long time. All you have to do when you're having a bad day is read these sutras. It just gives you power to know, walk straight through it. You're afraid of something, walk through it. If it's smarter to walk around it, then do it, but don't avoid it. If something hurts, look at it. Don't run away from it. Walk through it, and you will have the glory and the victory of coming to the other side. Sutra number 5, understand through compassion, or you will misunderstand the times. This is huge. So happy to end on this note. Understand through compassion, or you will misunderstand the times, the age of Aquarius. Yes, there's a battle. Yes, there are warriors. Yes, we have light warriors and light workers. Yes, we're fighting this fight on some levels, but be wise about it. Understand, without compassion, your fight is in vain, because know that the other person is you, and it's huge. So that being said, I think I'm going to close out. I think we touched on most everything I wanted to. It always goes so fast, but I need to keep this quick enough that it goes through YouTube. As it was, Facebook wasn't letting me share the link to it. So thank you so much. If you want to contact me, my contact information, I have Art of the Feminine on Facebook. I'll put some links in the description box where it says show more. If you're interested in working with me, doing a session, doing 3-month mentoring, which is where I work with all of the wisdom so much in a personal way, which is about coaching, please feel free to contact me. And that being said, have a beautiful, brilliant, powerful, total lunar eclipse. If I forget anything, or if I said anything wrong, I'll post it. I always like to come back and post corrections. But that being said, many, many blessings.